The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I hope we're live.
We're live.
Yeah, well, we're not. Let's hope so.
No, I'm looking at us live, so we are live.
All right. Well, we apologize for that glitch. We've sent the individual that was responsible to federal prison for a violation, but
yeah, but that's subject to a judicial review for a not guilty verdict.
That's right. But well, we had a we got a great show here today. We got a very interesting city council meeting last night. We had everything. We had we saw every aspect of what's wrong with Fall River. We saw shouting matches outside the chamber after the citizens' input was done, and people who can't disagree without being disagreeable. There were a lot of aspersions thrown, and fortunately I was just a bystander, and we watched it, but it was amazing yesterday. We had the neighborhood associations rallied again for their great self-interest to make sure that the mayor knew that they were 100% behind pay-as-you-throw, because, sick and tired of this thing. They even decided to shift the blame for all the city's woes to the city council. Numerous people said, people have been here for 20 years and nothing's changed. Well, that's partially true. We've said that. We need to change some councilors. However, the fact is that, everybody forgets that it's the mayor who's the captain of the ship. And we've had numerous mayors, and they propose and the city council disposes. So the fact that the city council is complicit in this is not debatable, because they did approve, not all of them, but they did approve, millions of dollars for parks and millions of dollars of misspent money, and we all know that. But what really gets me is when I see some of these people from these neighborhood associations go up and say, I love Fall River, and now there's this great concern for the fire department and why we need pay-as-you-throw, when in fact we know that they had a meeting with the mayor and they tell how they want their own personal liaison. Well, I got a new position. Sam likes to give out positions. Let's have a taxpayer liaison. Let's have somebody that we can go complain to about the way you continue to deplete the little money we have left. And, I didn't hear that same concern when these neighborhood leaders were saying, oh, 1 cup of coffee a week would pay for this playground. I don't know what the problem is. And another one actually said to someone whose word I know it was accurate, actually told an individual that they felt they were entitled to that park project. Entitled. Now, that word entitlement should not be used in the same sentence with anything in the city of Fall River except essential services. Because I find it rather hypocritical to condemn someone who got a block of cheese because they're on public assistance, and then say you're entitled to hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money to fix your park, when the city's in a financial straits. The fact is, look, if we had millions of dollars, we could fix all the parks. But they picked 2 parks out of 26 or 27 parks. Why? They were the farthest up the mayor's derriere. This is just blatant favoritism, and they are self-interest groups. And it was apparent yesterday and they can be as offended as they want, but the fact is they can't deny that they didn't give two craps about police, fire, anything when they were lobbying for their self-interest in the parks. And this is what's wrong with Fall River. Everybody's only worried about their own turf. Nobody looks at the taxpayers. And my co-host CJ had a very good discussion with one of the individuals who spoke, who made the statement, why should I pay? I only use one bag. These other people should be fined. These other people they shouldn't have a flat fee. Well, guess what? It's just the opposite. I don't have any children in school anymore, but my taxes go to education. Can I say don't do that? I've never had a fire, fortunately, in my home in my entire life, and I've lived in this city my entire life except when I was in the military. So the fact is, do I only pay for the services I use? No, we pay taxes, which now brings a reasonable person, a person with a modicum of logic and intelligence to understand there is the real issue. We pay taxes to provide us with services, and our taxes should be prioritized to give us the services that are essential, that we absolutely need. That means education, because if you had kids, well, okay, it's part of the system. Education, public safety, not for special assistance to the mayors, not for chief of staffs. And in my presentation last night, I talked about Old Fall River. When I grew up, when we had 300 firefighters and 300 police officers at a DPW that was 2 or 3 times larger than it is now, we had probably 2 or 3 times the number of city employees we have now. I mean, actual employees that do work. And you know what we didn't have? You see, I can't say this in 3 minutes because, you know what we didn't have in those days when we had a full complement of firefighters, not one of which was paid with a grant. We had a full complement of police officers. We had a DPW that had plenty of help. And we actually had services in the city. We also had numerous restaurants that no longer exist, numerous stores that no longer exist. Why? Because we had people who worked. They weren't rich, they worked in the mills, they worked in stores, but they worked. And people had money to spend, and they were in our economy. But the bottom line is, what we didn't have in that Fall River, which was a much better Fall River economically, had more businesses, was we didn't have a city administrator. We didn't have a chief of staff. The mayor had a secretary. We didn't have a special assistant. The treasurer didn't have his wife, his cousin, his third cousin removed from on his father's side. They all didn't have jobs. We've said this time and time again. And for you people who are complaining that we need big fines because you only use one bag and you don't want a flat fee, better realize that's not the point. The point is what we need is for this city to spend our money on the right things. And the right thing is not political patronage, which we've seen with the latest 2 appointments. I guess the pathway to a job is work on a Sam Sutter campaign. CJ, I've done my rant. Your turn.
Actually, I did a 17-minute commentary earlier this morning, which will be airing online later this afternoon. But, you know, it's interesting because they approved this TIF that goes over 10 years. And mayoral candidate Jazel Correa, I'm sorry, I'm going to stick it to him because he is running. He was touting this thing like there was no tomorrow. I was asked for meetings to discuss this matter before the city council hearing. The city council voted it 8-0, or basically 8 with 1 abstention, to give Mechanics Mill 1 a TIF. They needed that to qualify for further state money, approximately $1.8 million, that they're going to sell on the secondary market. Which, you know what, if it was me, I'd be doing the same thing. But what came out after the approval, You know that little thing about they can't put low-income housing in there that you and I talked about, Chip, that I sent out to every city councilor? Guess what can happen there? Section 8 housing, low-income housing, can be put into that mill now that they have the TIF. They can say it. They can say it publicly. And didn't I also present the public policy statement signed on to by the mayor and the city council at that time that, yes, Fall River needs more low-income housing? So now that the vote is going through and all 9 of the nitwits have voted it through and given away $300,000 plus to a mill. That's 3 firefighters for those of you who can't do math. You can do firefighters. That's 3 firefighters gone. Gone. We're not going to see them because we gave away this money. Is the project a good idea? Yes, it is. But are you going to pay $1,400 for an apartment in Fall River with no balcony? This is going to be Point Gloria all over again. Yeah. And it was brought to my attention that Point Gloria has now since done a shift because now it's majority owner-occupied units. That's because the units were selling at $50,000. People were buying them just to not pay rent anymore, you know what I mean? But again, for the longest time, that building was making some money on Section 8. And that's what is going to happen with Mechanics Mill 1. I don't want to see that happen, but I firmly believe that that is what we're going to see happen. And that's the sad part about it, because the people of Fall River are stupid. And I have an off-the-record comment that you're going to love, Chip. And I got to put you on screen when I say this one. I have an off-the-record comment from a high-ranking city official, okay? This city council is ignorant. They are stupid. They do what they're told. This is from a high-ranking city official. We put it in front of them, and they think, oh, it's a good job. It's a good idea. They don't ask any questions.
Well, you know, CJ, we know this. We know that for one thing that's very, very clear, and I have to disagree. Remember, you people think CJ and I are always, but I have to disagree. I don't think that this project is good at all. I think that the last thing we need is more housing in Fall River. I think you had a stat that 45% of the apartments in this city are unoccupied. We already have too much housing in this community. And the last thing we need is to import more low-income people into this community. That's one of the problems. Most of the cities that have begun a renaissance have reduced the number of public housing available in their community. Listen, this is pure and simple. This is 2 rich guys getting richer, again, on the backs of the people in Fall River that don't have 2 nickels to rub together. And when Jazel Correa talks about how wonderful this project is, he better get his head out of his rump, because, you know, he wants to run for mayor and everything's always pie in the sky. And I said that at last. I'm sick and tired of these pie in the sky panaceas for everything in this city. Oh yes, this housing is going to bring in all these rich people from out of town and they're going to move into this mill. Really? Come on. You got a mill over in Tiverton over the line. You've got mills all over the place. You know, and if you're going to come in here, I made a very novel idea. Why don't we do something else? Rather than giving these guys that are multi-millionaires TIFs, so they don't have to pay any taxes, and they're going to fill that up, I guarantee you that place will be full of low-income people because they're not going to rent anything. Who in their right mind is going to come to Fall River now? You know, I'm sick and tired of the lies. The mayor, we're the safest gateway city. We're one of the safest. No, we're not. We got a D rating. We've got a D rating as a gateway city. We'll provide them. If you people want to see the stats, let us know. CJ and I would be glad to provide you with the stats. You know, I'm tired of this stuff. Get a tourism director. We're going to out-tourism Newport and Cape Cod. Guess what? We don't need a tourism director anymore. They're going to build a casino in Tiverton. They'll bring in the people to the area, to the casino in Tiverton. Maybe we can siphon off from the casino. But you know something? That's absolute baloney. We're not going to fix this city. I said, how about this novel idea? How about offering a back-end loaded abatement to people who move into Fall River and buy homes? Buy a home in Fall River. Relocate to Fall River. Come in with an actual income and a salary and buy a house and shop and bring business back in with you because you come into Fall River. Why don't we do that rather than making a guy that's a multimillionaire and owns half the city already more money? You know something? I don't begrudge him that. You know, good for him. He's loaded. But he doesn't need welfare. He doesn't need a tax abatement. He can write that tax abatement off. He can write his taxes off. He's got plenty of accountants taking care of his multi-million-dollar investments. I can guarantee you he can hire a really good CPA that he won't pay a penny of that tax. He'll deduct it. Why do we constantly make these rich people richer and allow them to make us poorer? It is absolutely nauseating. I am sick of this stuff.
Well, Chip, I'll tell you right now, you're not too far off. The 1% keep getting richer. And that's okay, like I said, and I don't agree that we need more housing. The project, the idea of the project is a good idea, and it would work anywhere else. But in Fall River, 37.5% housing vacancy. And most of that is in the area where they're putting in the new apartments. So how are you going to fill them? You're right, Section 8. But let's get on to that new project. Now, you got to love this one. 400 feet. 400 feet from the state line, from the Fall River Tiverton line. 400 feet. A brand new Class A casino. Amazing. And where is it? It's in Rhode Island. It's in Tiverton. But don't you find it a little interesting that Tiverton made sure they cut a deal with Fall River for that new water line and that new water supply right up to the new casino? Did they know something they weren't telling us so they could get that cut rate water deal? We're giving them the water at cut rates. But, hey, you know, that's what we do. We sell water in Fall River. We sell water. We sell it to everybody who'll buy it so they can drink it and piss it away.
No, you're right. But you know, sometimes, and I am not a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes when I look at the history of Fall River, and I love history, and you know, I quote a lot from some history books in Fall River, especially the Untold Story of Labor, about the plight of the poor. But you know, they can say what they want, but the reality is the rich like to stay rich, and they like to keep the poor poorer. And when I look at some of the businessmen in Fall River, and I look at some of the things that have happened over the years, I am firmly convinced that they want Fall River to remain exactly what it is. Downtrodden, poor, where there's two classes, the 1%ers and then the 99% of the people. They want to keep wages low. I will go back, you mentioned a casino. I will give you some proof, because you can go back and ask the councilors that were involved. And I will name the councilor off the air if you'd like, if you want to call me. But when Fall River was considering the casino the first time, when that was the answer to everything, and they had hearings in front of the city council, and all the people, all the businessmen from the industrial park, most of whom don't live in the city, all came to oppose the casino with all the standard stuff. It's like, you know, crime, blah, 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 blah. And then one of them said, well, you know, they're not paying as much as they say. And one of the city councilors said, really? How much do you pay at your place? And the answer to that question was, well, councilor, I don't think that's relevant. It wasn't an answer. The reason it wasn't an answer was he was paying far less than the casino was going to pay. And all those people that had places in the industrial park wanted to keep the prevailing wage low because, as the old adage says, a high tide raises all boats. Well, guess what? If a place comes in, it's paying a lot of money, it drives up the prevailing wage. That's the way it works. Because guess what? All those people who worked in the industrial park would have went to the casino for a job unless their pays got elevated to be competitive. And this is what happens in Fall River. Fall River didn't want the power plants. Fall River didn't want Polaroid. Fall River has said no to every single major tax-paying thing that's ever come into this city. And the few things we got were crap. They were here on TIFs, and when the TIFs were gone, they were gone. Is it something that's being planned? Well, it's either that or we've had the stupidest government in the history of mankind running this city since the Industrial Revolution.
It's amazing though, isn't it? We can't write this stuff. We really can't write it. And the problem is the people of Fall River are just as stupid. You're ignorant. And I know that's insulting. But guess what? I am not the man of, a persona that people like. I'm very much well hated. Okay? I'm kind of like Sam Adams.
The beer or the...
Sam Adams was a troublemaker. That's me. John Adams, our former president, was disliked by every member of the Continental Congress. So I kind of had a combination of both of them kind of thrown in there. But I personally side a little more with John Adams. You have to be informed. Don't buy the propaganda. We have one of the greatest propaganda machines going. I swear that they must have been trained by Hitler and the Nazi Party because they know how to carry out this bunch of bull for the people to buy and go, oh yes, look, we got Amazon. 500, quote the lie, 500 permanent full-time jobs. Guess what? They're not. Amazon hires temporary employees through local agencies and seasonal. This project, if it goes forward, because remember, we still have the if, is to produce the highest tech, most modern robotic facility. That means don't need people, don't need salary.
Well, CJ, I don't believe that the people in Fall River are stupid. I think that, there are a lot of people in this city that don't care about this city, but I think the problem is the demographic in this city. The city is now inhabited by a lot of people who aren't originally from Fall River. They came in here from everywhere for low-income housing. And a lot of the people who were involved in government in those so many years ago where politicians were actually afraid to waste our money because they would be voted out, they've all moved out, and as the mayor touted our workforce during his State of the City, we don't have a workforce anymore. Most of them have moved out. I know many, many, many people now who live in Westport and Swansea and Somerset in a general area. They've all bailed out. They're not like us. They're not gonna. They decided not to stay here and try to fight. And the problem is there are a lot of people that are aware what's going on, but it's the attitude that they have. You know what they all say? There's nothing we can do anymore. There's nothing we can do. Why bother? And that's the problem, a general malaise in this city. The people who have remained, most of them say, look, there's nothing we can do. These clowns, these lunatics are running the asylum, and there's nothing we can do, but there is. We have to get together. We have to get young people to vote. We have to get as many people. We did it once. We did it once on a recall, and we have to do it across the board to everybody, because the fact is, listen, we are not going to change anything unless we band together. The attitude of there's nothing we can do, you gave up. And that's the problem. There are a lot of people. I go into the coffee shops, I go into restaurants, and people are complaining to me constantly, you know, this stinks, we should get this and this should happen. And they all got great ideas. But then you say, well, did you get everybody you know to vote? Well, but then again, what are we going to do? The powers to be. And, you know, you're right. They allow themselves to be conned. But that's not only a tactic in Fall River. It's a standard political tactic. Identify a hot-button issue in a demographic and go after it. We can look at any election. What did they do when Mike Dukakis ran for election? They said, he's a liberal from the north. They went down south and said, look out, that liberal from the north is going to take away all your guns. So all the rednecks voted against Dukakis. And then they went and said, look at Willie Horton. He lets people out of prison. And they know what appeals. In the Bush election, they used the stances, you know, on abortion. They use gun control. They go to the various areas, and what they want to do is they want to appeal to everybody's self-interest. They want to make us all neighborhood associations. They want to make us all only interested in what we want. And you know something? We've got to be interested in the greater good of the city. You want firefighters, you want police, you want money to be spent right. Put the right asses in the seats.
Yeah, because you know, Chip, this town
needs an enema.
That's what this town needs. And I'll tell you now, you know, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And, you know, I said this earlier on the commentary. There was a political force in the city, one that could not be reckoned with. But people allowed personal influence. They allowed their personal opinions of people to influence how they treated everybody else. And then what happened was that political force became destructive. There was a small group that continued on and still continue on. And they are now working alone outside of that group of people. And they're working to build up that political force again. And that's what we need. We need the people of Fall River to come together like they did during revolutionary times. I hated Abe across the way. You know, he and his farm, his cows eat all my grass. I can't stand that SOB. But you know what? They came together with arms, and they took on the English, and they created the great experiment known as the United States of America. That's what we need in Fall River right now. We need to say, you know what? I can't stand you, CJ. You have a big mouth. You never do anything right. You're not polite. I can't stand work. But you know what? You're right, and I'm going to work with you, even though I can't stand you. Or Chip, you know what? You're always talking about the fire department, and, you know, you're always screaming about that. And I can't work with you because, you know, you're going to bang me in the face if I say the wrong thing. But you know what? I'll work with you. We'll make this happen. You know, and that's what we need. We need people to put their personal opinions aside. And they need to come together to work for the common good of Fall River, to make Fall River a better place. You can sit there and say all you want, I love Fall River. You know what? I love Fall River too. I love hamburgers. I mean, look at me, okay? I love food. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna work to make it better.
Well, you're 100% right, but what we need is we need a cause. The bags were the cause. And, you know, what we have to realize, and what everybody in this city has to realize is that, look, you go out and you socialize with people you like. If you like the Patriots, you hang around with Patriots fans. If you don't like the Patriots, you hang around with Giants fans or Packer fans or whatever. But the fact is, you can all come together for a common cause. This country was a melting pot. This city is a melting pot. We all have different opinions, but we can all agree on one thing. We've got to fix the city. So let's band together again and make the cause taking back our government. Period.
Sounds good to me. We'll see you on Friday here on Spindle City Straight Talk. Thanks for watching.